Number 1. Sinuses, the mystery rooms inside your face. Let's talk about sinuses, those weird little air-filled cavities in your skull that seem to cause more problems than they solve. If you've ever had a sinus infection, you've probably wondered, why do I even have these things? And guess what? Scientists aren't totally sure either. Here's what we do know. Sinuses are connected to your nasal passages, and they're lined with mucus-producing membranes. They help humidify the air you breathe, lighten the weight of your skull, and maybe help amplify your voice so you don't sound like a robot. But none of those explanations really justify the chaos they cause. When you get sick or suffer from allergies, those sinuses can clog up like a traffic jam during rush hour, causing pressure, headaches, congestion, and that awful can't breathe through your nose feeling. Some researchers think sinuses might be leftover evolutionary air pockets, or maybe they helped our ancestors cope with different climates. Others argue they're kind of like structural spacers, giving your skull shape without weighing it down. But the truth is, no one's 100% certain. It's like your face has a bunch of spare rooms, and nature forgot to clean them out. Or maybe evolution left them behind just to mess with us every cold season. Either way, they're here, they're confusing, and they'll probably keep filling up with mucus when you least want them to. So next time you have a sinus headache, just remember, you're suffering for science. Or maybe just because evolution is weird. Number 2. Auricular muscles, the tiny ear movers you'll probably never use. You ever met someone who can wiggle their ears? It looks like a party trick, but deep down, it's thanks to a set of tiny, almost forgotten muscles called the auricular muscles. In animals like cats and dogs, these muscles are super useful. They can rotate their ears to track sounds, like a built-in radar system. But in humans, most of us have the muscles, but can't actually use them. Why? Because our ancestors once relied on these muscles to stay alert in the wild. Hearing a rustle in the bushes could mean survival, so being able to move your ears toward a sound was a big deal. But as we evolved and leaned more on sight, language, and, well, not sleeping in caves, those muscles became basically useless. Today, the auricular muscles are what scientists call vestigial, leftover parts from our evolutionary past that no longer serve a real function. They're still there, quietly existing under your skin, but unless you're practicing in front of a mirror or genetically gifted, they're just along for the ride. That said, some people still can wiggle their ears, and some take it very seriously. One man in India, Alano Martin Baiju, holds the world record for fastest ear wiggles, 99 times in 30 seconds. That's faster than most people blink. So sure, you might not need to pivot your ears toward predators anymore, but if you can wiggle them, congratulations, you're a walking, talking evolutionary Easter egg. Number 3. Wisdom teeth, the late arrivals no one invited. Ah yes, wisdom teeth, the molars that show up unannounced, usually between ages 17 and 25, when your mouth is already full and happy without them. Think of them as those distant relatives who drop by without calling, and suddenly you need to rearrange your whole house just to make space. Back in the day, our ancestors actually needed these extra chompers. Their diets were rough, literally. They chewed on roots, raw meat, nuts, and tough plants, all without blenders, knives, or Instagram-worthy smoothie bowls. Their teeth wore down fast, so having a few backup molars pop in during adulthood was a smart survival move. But times have changed. We cook our food, cut it into bite-sized pieces, and baby our teeth with toothbrushes, floss, and mouthwash. Our jaws have even gotten smaller over time because we don't need to chew like cavemen anymore. So when wisdom teeth try to squeeze into modern mouths, they run out of room, leading to pain, swelling, and expensive dental visits. That's why so many people end up getting them removed. And guess what? You don't even need them to live a perfectly healthy, normal life. In fact, more and more people today are being born without wisdom teeth at all, an evolutionary sign that nature might be quietly phasing them out. So if you've had yours pulled, don't worry. You're not missing anything, except maybe a few days of ice cream and chipmunk cheeks. Number 4. The palmaris longus, the spare part hiding in your arm. Hidden inside your forearm is a little muscle called the palmaris longus, and chances are, you've never even noticed it. Don't feel bad though. About 1 in 7 people don't have it at all, and they're living totally normal lives. So what does this mysterious muscle do? Well, not much. Technically, it's supposed to help you bend your wrist, but the rest of your arm muscles already do that job just fine. The palmaris longus is like that extra cable in the box. You're not sure what it's for, but nothing breaks when it's gone. So why do we still have it? Thank our tree-swinging ancestors. Back when climbing, gripping, and hanging from branches was a daily routine, this muscle actually served a purpose. But unless you're planning to give up your phone and start living like Tarzan, you're probably not going to miss it. Here's something cool though. Because the palmaris longus is so expendable, surgeons often use it in tendon replacement surgeries. Need to patch something up? They'll just borrow your palmaris longus. No harm done. It's like having a spare tire in your arm. So even though it's a relic from our evolutionary past, this muscle gets a second life in modern medicine. Not bad for a body part that's basically just hanging out. Number 5. The tailbone, a tiny reminder of the tail you never had. At the very bottom of your spine is a small, stubborn bone called the tailbone, or, if you want to sound fancy, the coccyx. It just kind of sits there, not doing much, until you accidentally fall on it and discover just how painful it can be. But here's the twist. That little bone is actually a leftover from our tailed ancestors. Yes, way back in our evolutionary past, humans had tails, real ones. They used them for balance, communication, maybe even to swat away bugs or show off to a potential mate. As we evolved to walk upright, those tails became, well, pointless. Over time, they shrank away, leaving behind this tiny bony souvenir. It's like evolution didn't want to erase it completely, just in case. To be fair, the tailbone does still serve a minor purpose. It helps anchor certain muscles, ligaments, and tendons in your pelvis. But let's be honest, it's hardly pulling its weight. And get this, every now and then, a baby is actually born with a vestigial tail, a small, soft growth at the base of the spine. It doesn't have any bones, just skin and tissue, and it's usually removed right after birth. Still, it's a wild little throwback to a time when our ancestors were swinging from trees. So the next time you sit awkwardly or fall backward and feel that sharp sting in your tailbone, just remember, that pain, that's millions of years of evolution saying, hey, remember when we had tails? Number 6. Erector pili, the muscle that gave you goosebumps and used to save lives. You know those tiny little bumps you get on your skin when you're cold or creeped out? That's the erector pili muscle in action. Sounds fancy, but it's basically a built-in reaction system that's doing, well, not much anymore. Back in the prehistoric days, this muscle was seriously useful. When early humans, who had way more body hair, got cold or scared, the erector pili would kick in, making their hair stand on end. This puffed them up, making them look bigger and more intimidating. You know, in case they ran into a saber-toothed tiger or needed to impress someone in the tribe. It was like nature's version of the "I'm not scared" defense mechanism. Hair stands up, you look bigger, danger backs off. But fast forward to today, and we're all walking around in hoodies, heated rooms, and climate-controlled cars. We barely have any body hair to puff up. So when our erector pili muscles activate, all we get is goosebumps. No protection, no intimidation, just a weird skin texture that makes people ask, are you cold? And here's the kicker. These muscles are slowly fading. As humans evolve, they're becoming weaker and less common. Someday in the distant future, goosebumps might be something your great-great-grandkids read about in digital textbooks and say, wait, people used to have muscles just for that. Number 7. Jacobson's organ, your built-in love detector, that doesn't work. Believe it or not, humans are born with a kind of secret superpower, a tiny organ in our nose called the Jacobson's organ, designed to detect pheromones. You know, those invisible chemical signals animals use to attract mates, show aggression, or mark territory. Sounds cool, right? Like having a hidden radar for love? Well, not so fast. In humans, this organ is basically out of order. Picture it like a high-tech spy gadget. Except the batteries are dead, the user manual is missing, and no one's even sure how to turn it on. That's the Jacobson's organ for us. Back in prehistoric times, this organ may have helped our ancestors sniff out mates or sense danger. It was probably their version of online dating. Only it involved smelling the air instead of swiping right. But as we evolved and started using our brains and actual language, this ancient smell tech fell out of use. Nowadays, some people are born without a Jacobson's organ at all. And guess what? They're doing just fine, falling in love, feeling attraction, living their lives, all without a built-in scent detector. For the rest of us who still have it, it's mostly just sitting there like an old tool in the back of the drawer, technically part of the set, but not doing anything useful. Meanwhile, animals are out there picking up pheromones like it's second nature, and we're relying on cologne, body spray, and awkward first dates. Evolution is funny like that. Number 8. Toes, the tiny grip machines we barely use anymore. Let's be honest, when was the last time your toes saved your life? Maybe you used them to pick up a sock or flex them in flip-flops at the beach. But the truth is, in today's world, your toes are mostly just along for the ride. Back in the day, toes were MVPs. Our ancestors used them for climbing trees, grabbing branches, and running barefoot across wild terrain. They needed strong, grippy feet to survive. But today, the biggest challenge our toes face is avoiding the corner of a coffee table. And with how we walk, it turns out our big toe is doing most of the heavy lifting. The smaller toes? They're kind of phoning it in. Add in decades of comfy shoes, arch support, and soft sidewalks, and guess what? Our toes are getting lazier by the generation. Scientists believe that over thousands of years, our little piggies might actually shrink or become less distinct. That doesn't mean we'll be completely toe-less anytime soon. But far, far in the future, human feet might look totally different. One day, our descendants could be looking at old photos of feet like, wait, why did they have all those mini fingers on their feet? And honestly, fair question. Number 9. The appendix, the useless organ that's quietly disappearing. Let's talk about the appendix. A tiny organ that's been hanging out in your gut like that one classmate who shows up but never does anything. Back in ancient times, when our ancestors were gnawing on raw roots, bark, and tough leaves, the appendix might have actually served a real purpose, helping break down plant fibers. Fast forward to today, where our diets consist of pizza, ice cream, and microwave burritos, and the appendix is just there. It doesn't digest anything important anymore. It doesn't help out. It just sits quietly, hoping no one remembers it exists, until it gets inflamed. Then it throws a tantrum so bad you're rushed to the ER, and doctors have to cut it out. And the best part? You don't even need it. People live perfectly normal lives without it. That's why surgeons remove it without a second thought. It's like deleting a useless app from your phone. But here's where it gets interesting. Evolution seems to be phasing it out. In some parts of the world, up to 1 in 5 people are now born without an appendix at all. That means we might be looking at a future where no one has to deal with appendix pain, emergency surgery, or tiny abdominal scars ever again. Imagine that. A future where one more unnecessary body part quietly vanishes from the human blueprint. No drama, no problem.